Welcome to episode 172 of College Football Uncensored, brought to you by Saturday Down South. On today's episode, we discuss recent bad takes by Mike Florio and Brady Quinn, debate the 8 versus 9 game scheduling, the latest round of fan speak, where we interpret what a coach actually means with his coach speak, Colorado back to the Big 12, question mark, and the top 5 fake bowl games. At the end, as always, we will answer listener questions. This episode, of course, is brought to you by Texas Pete. You can find the show on our website, SaturdayDownSouth.com, Apple, and Spotify. Join us for the live recording of the show every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Saturday Down South YouTube page. Find clips from the show on all social media for Saturday Down South at SDS, at SatDownSouth1 on YouTube, and, of course, at CFB_uncensored. How's everybody doing? There's the cold open for you. William Gray in the house. What's up, fellas? Marler Volunteer Security Officer B. Diesel in the house. What's going on here? We're waiting for Marler, but as we wait, we got the Lady Knowles playing the Lady Vols here in the Women's College World Series. I don't know what's going on, but how's everybody doing? It's been a while. Going through some life transitions, so I haven't been able to make it every week, and I had a major flu last week. Good to see everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're waiting for Marler a little bit. Yeah, I saw Ben Diesel get in the mix on Twitter with the whole Marler and he who shall not be named. Guys, we're hitting the dead of summer here, which means that we are creeping ever closer to the first weekend of college football. Just in a couple months. UGA's new baseball hire, I know, pitching coach at LSU. I think he came from the Twins the year before. Oh, what a stop at second base for the Knowles. Yeah, supposedly it was a great hire for LSU last year. I'm not sure exactly how good LSU's pitching was this year. But yes, I did have the actual flu. It was probably the worst sickness I've had in years, and including the couple times I've had COVID. It was worse. I honestly felt like how I thought COVID would feel. I felt like I was in like a 3-round boxing match with Tyson where he was just solely beating my ribs. All my joints hurt, and I was coughing so hard that my ribs hurt. I did what finally knocked it out for me was the Tamiflu. So that's good from you, Ben Diesel. There, highly recommended Tamiflu. Unfortunately, I waited till like day 4 or day 5 to actually take Tamiflu. But I'm feeling better. You may hear me cough throughout this episode. I still got some stuff in my chest. And it's going around right now. My kids had strep first, or my daughter did, and then gave my wife, me, and my dad all influenza A is what we were diagnosed with. So it was fun. But yes, everyone's healthy now. Appreciate everyone asking. And we're going to be getting into this soon. Oh, yeah. If you have kids and they are in daycare or school of any sort, you're going to get sick. It's just going to happen. Chris, what has happened to your hair?
Oh, buzzcut, dude.
All right. I did the cold open. So we'll
how'd it go? What I miss?
No, I just did the cold open, and now I'm chatting with Ben Diesel about the flu, and people were asking about the new UGA baseball coach, which is LSU's pitching coach, who just came over from the Twins before this year.
Oh, yeah. He's having just a career plummet, huh?
I mean,
major leagues, and then LSU. Now he's one of the worst team in the SEC East.
Head coach, though.
Head coach, that's right. I have no idea. I don't really keep up. Like, I watched college baseball this weekend, but I don't really keep up with All of it.
Well, shall we dive into the episode here?
The program.
Yeah. Where are my notes? There they are. All right. I'll tell Dan to cut the cold open there, and then we will start at 5:30. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody! Welcome back to another episode of College Football Uncensored, brought to you by Saturday Down South. I'm your host Tyler Huck, and with me as always, my co-host and recently shaved head, which I think it looks good. Chris Marler.
It doesn't. This picture is not doing it justice. It looked really good in the video the other day. I don't care how it sounds. Also, I moved.
You have a good hairline.
I know. Thank you. Also, I'm not gonna say that on air, but do you see my distinguished guest that has made the trip with me to my new place?
Pepper?
Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news here. Come here. Ho, 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 ho!
What is that?
Pepper came with me.
Wait, is Pepper yours now?
Yeah. That's right. That's how you do it, guys.
So, yeah, for those that don't follow Chris on his social, which I don't know why you wouldn't, always a basket of joy. People are wondering, where did you move?
I'm not telling you all that.
Okay. Well.
Playing it close to, well, so like ever since that one psychopath was like threatening to find me and like fight me or whatever because of him being wrong about tweets, I just, I'm gonna probably keep the old address and stuff like that close.
Well, I wasn't gonna give your address per se, just
Oh, that's the only way I know to go.
Like, yeah. Well, let's just say it this way. You don't live in Georgia anymore.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I had to move out of that state. Tired of hearing about Kirby. Tired of hearing about all the dogs.
Too many championships, man.
2 was too many to me, to be honest.
People are wondering in the chat if you stole Pepper.
I didn't steal Pepper. I don't know if she's technically going to be mine forever. But I do know her mom, and my former roommate was like, you should just take Pepper. And I was like, I don't know if this is a joke or not. This isn't very funny. Very triggering response considering the last.
And then it was a joke, but you had already left with her. So
no, so I really wasn't going to. And then I was like, and then she let her out of the cage. Like as I was like leaving, Tiger got out of the cage, man. Tiger got out of the cage. Also, I don't like this chair angle because it makes me look like I have like one of those like neck rolls from like the 90s linebackers that would wear. Just like,
well, that's kind of sick though.
That's it though. It's not Shreveport.
Maybe
not allowed like in Shreveport. No, but it's been a good move. And we had like a kind of a busy weekend. Like you got sick last week at like what I would say is probably the worst timing. I also, looking back on it, I think I was probably, how do I put this? Losing my fucking mind over the reactions people are having to spring, not even media days, spring meetings.
It's just, I feel like the timeline for like not only pro but college is in terms of like Pate has always been on this about no off season. It's like every year it feels like we just get something to get mad about earlier and earlier and earlier. Now it's the spring meetings, which 5 years ago no one even knew happened.
It has never been an issue. They do this every year. It's always the most lackluster, boring shit. Stop watching the Braves.
It's not the Braves.
What is it?
It's Florida State, Tennessee softball.
Oh, actually, watch that. Yeah, for sure. You have a good hairline. No, it is like. So we can get into it. There was.
Wait, we'll get that in a second. We got segments. Remember, Chris? We got this segmented out.
That's right.
We will get to that though. But how was your weekend outside of you being horrendously angry online about the 9-game schedule?
I was like, I got better about it, but on Thursday I was irate. No, it was good. I sat here. I watched a bunch of college baseball games. Saturday's baseball slate was incredible. Just like some of the best college baseball games in general that I've seen in forever. It was before like all like the bad weather stuff like that. The Tennessee Clemson game was incredible. We have to talk about that. That was like
how about the dude getting ejected, the center fielder, in like the 13th inning for just like
how many things would I be ejected from?
You'd be getting ejected from every game.
The case was showing emotion. I wouldn't. It'd be a daily thing.
Yeah. You would never be in any game.
I do want to say this, and I meant to bring it up as soon as we got on the air, but I wanted to take a second to wish my former co-host and good friend, Conor O'Gara, who him and his wife had their first child last week. Connor's officially a dad. They had a beautiful baby girl. He's going to be the best dad. He's a great dude in general, as all of you guys know. If you're listening, everybody, very happy for you, very proud of you. You're going to do a great job. And that's it. So I wanted to say that before we started in going any further. So Connor from the other pod as well. But yeah, so the games this weekend, the Tennessee Clemson game, and like Clemsoning is a thing again.
Yeah, I'm glad. That's good.
Yeah, I know you are. You guys didn't make the tournament, which is kind of crazy.
No, yeah, this is the first time in like 40 years we haven't made it.
It is
a rebuilding year.
It is. It's been fun to watch because there's just like there's this. I don't know if it's every year. I know last year like Tommy Tanks and a couple other guys like that, but this year especially, there's just some guys that are like, it kind of feels like appointment viewing and like must see TV. Like that Jack Caglione is incredible to watch, and like there's the kid from TCU yesterday hit 2 grand slams in the first 2 innings.
Oh my God.
He hit 11 RBIs. He hit 3 home runs. He hit 11 RBIs. They just
remember when Fernando Tatis Sr. hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning?
No, I don't. I would have quit. I would have been fired immediately for the amount of emotion I would have showed on that. And also, it was kind of crazy going back to the Clemson Tennessee thing. Like, I'm not saying this in a negative way about Tennessee. I'm genuinely not, because Tennessee baseball is actually, I think it's done so much for the game. Like, especially the college game. Like last year, I think everyone hated them if you were outside of Knoxville because they were so arrogant and brash. And I love the celebrations. I hated Jordan Beck giving like rounding first and giving the finger to the center fielder.
Oh yeah,
that was stupid. Way too much. But like they did so much for the game. But then the NCAA, as always, this is like where I forget that we have the NCAA, because it's never around in college football. It rarely shows up in college basketball, like for like rules violations and shit. And then all of a sudden they're like, where can we still ruin someone's fun and or life? Baseball. Like the most boring sport there is. What if we added a rule that, like, if you have too much fun, we're going to suspend you and ruin the game?
Yeah, as if it's not boring enough.
Yeah, and also it's a 1-game suspension that's you can't appeal.
Yeah, well, that's stupid.
Yeah. So anyway,
so let's talk about something else that you got a little triggered about online, and that was Mike Florio's string tweets. So for those that don't know him and maybe the context, let's give a little insight here.
Yeah. So, and Pate was talking about this all weekend, and so I felt like vindicated in being able to talk about it as well, or validated talking about it as well, because it was just I think it was a weird thing. I think all weekend, as we talk about with SEC spring meetings, where I understand people are going to overreact. I understand how people are going to react to Saban because people hate Saban and Bama, and there's with good reason. With the Bama part, I get it. I fully get it. I understand that is what the reaction is going to be, no matter what is said. I think we were talking about this with Chris Gordy last week. One of the things that bothers me now is that, like, in general with coaches, you saw with Eli Drinkwitz, no matter what you say, it is going to be taken out of context. And if it's not like, hey, you're amazing, NIL's amazing, I love this, like, you're going to live forever, your favorite team's going to win every game, and then it's like the whole you're complaining about this. There are very real issues with NIL. And the reason why is because it is an unregulated system that was put in place by, it's basically like I joked around about it in this video we did this weekend, but it's like, the NCAA was just like the dad who was like, I'm getting some milk and cigarettes, I'll be back. And then just, like, see you later, dude. When are we going to be a family again in NCAA? I don't know, when the Angels win the pennant. Like what the fuck? So who would have to win the pennant for the NCAA to come back in the story?
Well, God, usually the go-to is the Orioles, but shit, they're actually good now.
I meant like with football, idiot. I should have explained that.
Okay. Vandy?
Yeah, maybe. So, but the whole
Mississippi
point
State?
of NIL is that and we were talking about this before it was implemented, and you saw people starting to get out ahead of it like early. But that was the first issue: was it was legal in some states, it was legal, it was not legal in others. And then you were going to have like not unfair, but you're going to have an advantage in some states if your state was legalizing it. And then you saw this domino effect go across the country, and and it wasn't regulated by the NCAA. It wasn't regulated by government or whatever. And so it is a very new, very unregulated, anything goes system. And there are a ton of flaws with it, a ton. That is an objective statement. And by saying that, it doesn't mean I'm mad because this team has more or this team is doing this. And like, A&M has done a great job because there are no rules. There are no rules. So like if A&M right now is doing a thing where they have their collective, it's not associated with their university, so they can start paying kids sooner. And it's also not something like that will have to be tracked or like they've been out ahead of all of this from the beginning. And that's what you should be doing. Like that doesn't make it unfair. It makes it like difficult to have any kind of parity or like, as with any law that goes into place, like, equality in it. And it doesn't have to be like everyone has the same amount, but there's nothing regulated at all. And I think that if you say that, that's not complaining. That is just stating a fucking fact. I hope you heard it from me because Mike Florio did not.
Well, I mean, you tweeted at him, so maybe he did hear from you.
Apparently, it wasn't the right Mike Florio that I tweeted. Somebody in the comments, I was so heated. I understand it's the off season, and you're gonna have dumb comments make whatever. But at the same time, it was I think honestly just because the fact that Pate brought it up on his show and read it word for word, it made me feel a lot better. If you didn't read the article, this is what it was.
I'm just picturing some dude named Mike Florio who runs like a meatball shop up in Brooklyn. He's like, what's this college football they talking about?
Hey, listen up, Mike, you sack of shit.
Go Jets!
You said about my team's coach. It's like, and we'll get into all the other stuff too, like what like we said, the 8-game conference scheduling stuff like that. But like I said, there are very real issues with a lot of the stuff that's going on right now. And the NIL stuff is probably at the forefront of where it's an issue with everything. This is the argument that came out of the story that came out. It says Nick Saban keeps fighting against NIL. When Alabama coach Nick Saban first complained about NCAA's still new NIL reality, some thought he was simply firing a warning shot at college football before he exploited the latest device for getting the best possible players and kicking everyone's ass. He absolutely wasn't. He was scared of what NIL would do to his program, his goals, and his legacy, and he's still scared. Saban probably, I think there's a very real part of Saban that's worried he's not going to win another championship because of all the changes that are going on. I don't think it's because of NIL. I'll tell you right now, if you think that, if your take is, and I've seen this floating around a lot, if your take is, well, now that it's legal everywhere to pay players and even the playing field, because Saban can't just be buying all the best players, then that's why he's not going to be, Bama's not going to be any good anymore. That is objectively one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. If you think that Saban was the only one paying players beforehand, or he was throwing out so much cash that's why he was recruiting so well. One, he's still recruiting very well, and there's going to be no shortage of money at places that want to win, like
sure.
Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, all that kind of stuff. It's just it's a very weird take. Anyway, he wants to eliminate the advantage of schools in bigger, richer cities and or bigger, richer alumni bases that will become pooling money for NIL collectives. He made a comment about how I have no problem with players becoming employees. I mean, unionize it if you want. Make it like the NFL. So he basically, the take here was Saban wants the dollars to be even among all schools so he can go back to using his homespun charm to stack the deck for the home team. What he means is recruiting. Also, this guy is a fantasy football analyst, and whoever let him write this fucking article should be ashamed of themselves because it's one of the dumbest things. And again, it's the state, I think, of NIL across the country where this is like Bama's not going to struggle with NIL. They had the number one recruiting class in the country last year. Georgia's not going to struggle. Like bigger schools that have blue blood ties or in phenomenal tradition. We said it all last year. Teams like Texas and Tennessee and USC and Miami, they are going to have a field day in the NIL era because, well, Miami might not because they tied all their stuff to one person. But they're going to thrive in this whole situation. And I don't think the SEC especially is going to struggle for money at all for most of the institutions.
Yeah.
The final part here that was crazy was the situation could eventually force Saban to become a Tuscaloosa Judas. If he can't whine the desired change into existence, really would anyone be surprised if Saban eventually starts sniffing around one of those schools in one of those states where there's enough money to buy up all the best players and also has to pay him even more than he's currently making? What? Saban's 72
Doesn't make
years
much
old. He's going to
sense.
leave because of NIL.
He's gonna go to USF, bro. Down there in Florida. It's a rebuild. There,
He's not coming back. It's like Erin Hamby when she went down to the office to Tallahassee. He's not coming back. What were your thoughts on it? I thought it was like such a. I just feel like everything involved with the NIL stuff or like the media.
No, dude, the players are going to be employees within the next 10 years.
All of it. I hate all of it. We opened up this box and it can't close it again. And it's like, I think it's going. I hate to sound drastic and dramatic. I kind of worry it's going to ruin the sport. Not NIL, but all of the changes, because all the changes are happening at once. You did the same shit forever, and now it's all at once, and you're like, and you can't keep up. And it's also this like weird Cold War where you're like just stockpiling teams and trying to expand with the Big Ten and the SEC, and like it is. I don't like it.
Well, I used to say that too, and you said that I was like complaining too much about the sport, but that's fine. I ended up being right. It's cool.
You were.
Yeah.
I do think that like.
No, but everything happens fast these days. That's the problem. I mean, it's just, it's we got to have it now. I mean, look, like Texas and Oklahoma just got into the SEC,
right?
What, two summers ago, like it was when it was first announced, and now they're already like being a part of meetings and things like that. We're already talking about adding like 5 more teams to the damn SEC or 3 other teams to the Big Ten. It's like this stuff is. We used to do conference expansion every it felt like 15 to 20 years.
Right. And it was like fun. It made sense because it was like regionally located and stuff like that. Yeah. And there's like a lot of like, if you think about this, like 25 years ago, okay, that was the first year of the BCS. It's been 25 years. And Tennessee and Florida State played for the national championship. Before that, think about how asinine, knowing what we know now with media, and I'm sure it's gotten worse with media. I mean, hell, I'm in the media. Also, big win today. I got credentialed for media days.
That means you're in the media. Ooh, it's in Nashville?
Yeah.
So that does mean you're in the media if you got credentialed to be media.
I was pretty pumped. But no, I mean, like the way media is now.
Were you able to check to see if I was credentialed?
I'm just going to write my name. I'm going to cross my name out and we're going to alternate days.
Oh, okay.
Listen, we've seen enough like Saved by the Bell and like and kitschy like dumb movies. We could probably just like. I'll stack you on my shoulders.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's get these big trench coats.
Yes. First question for the.
Hey, I'll wear a top hat that's like real down low, so you can't see my face, and then I'll be wobbling as you're trying to hold me up.
Like Hasidic Jewish people for no reason, just like little rascals, and they came into the bank and you're like, what? No. So, but I do think that it's crazy to think that the sport used to be determined, and your fate was determined by writers just voting who they thought was the best, and knowing what we know now about opinions and all this other stuff is like that. That's terrifying. That is terrifying. Like the Big Ten I would never vote for the Big Ten. Like this would be. It's so objectively dumb. But you move into this new era where now everything did seem so backwards for a long time, and just like a lot of stuff I think in this country is an overcorrection way too far, and now the NCAA is like, well, we're not going to help out with anything because we don't know what to do and we weren't doing anything in the first place, so we're not making money off of it. I just, we talked about the conference expansion going to 2 power conferences, and then it slowed, so we kind of assumed that it was not going to be that. Like it wasn't going to be just 2 20 to 24 team power conferences playing an NFL type schedule. And now I think that's what's going to happen, just because you're not going to have any other conference, like Power 5 conference, that is going to be even close to the same like top to bottom talent and like depth as the SEC and Big Ten.
No, I mean we'll talk a little bit later about how the Big 12 is looking at expanding potentially, Colorado and others. But I mean, okay, so what's the best team in that conference now?
Right,
Baylor,
in the Big 12,
UCF.
It might be a fun. It's like, I hate to say this, but like the Big 12 will kind of be
like a bigger action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be like a fun like action with more on the
Bigger
line.
schools, and
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
And listen, I think it's. I was thinking about this morning on my walk, like with Pepper. Like, I wonder what that's going to look like when UCF comes in, and you because I was looking at this this weekend of like the most wins in college football the last 10 years, and you look at having teams like UCF and Cincinnati and Boise and some of these teams that are like obviously Group of 5 or Group of 6, whatever it is. I always mix that up, but like, how long is it going to take for the perception of all football fans to take those teams seriously, even though they are now in a conference we have been taking seriously as like a part of like the Power 5 for so long? Like, if UCF wins the Big 12 this year, does that change the perception drastically for most college football fans, like traditional college football fans?
Of the Big 12 or of UCF?
In general. Like, I mean, like outside the Big 12.
Yeah, no, I would say it probably changes people's opinions on UCF, maybe gives them a little bit more credibility, even though the Big 12 without Texas and Oklahoma, I don't know, you're better at jokes, is like what?
Me without my hair.
So worse?
I mean, the Big 12 without.
I was going to say worse.
Thank you. No, I think, I mean, and Ben Diesel says UCF has the largest student body of any school in the country. We're not going to body shame today. We're not doing that on this podcast.
We don't do that. We don't kink shame. We don't body shame. None of it.
We should. I mean, you keep saying the kink shame thing, and I think we need to talk about that. It's kind of, but no, I just think I don't think they will get more credibility necessarily. I think that like most people in the country, especially SEC fans, and who are like sometimes the loudest ones, or think about ACC with Florida State, Miami. Think they're going to be like, oh yeah, UCF's good now. I take that seriously.
Yeah, right. Well, probably not.
Yeah, but
UCF's fun to make fun of, though. Okay, I got something. Can we play videos on here? A 30-second video if we credit who it is.
Yeah, I made graphics and a bunch of shit about the schedules.
All right. Well, I'm going to share this with you. It angered me, Chris.
It did.
Here is Brady Quinn and his other colleague, who I don't know, talking about Florida State this year.
And Noah, our producer, all these guys are going to be all hyped up for Florida State this year. Be careful now. That might be a train that's leading kind of nowhere and it might run off the tracks as Clemson flies right by.
One thing's in common with all these people hyping up Florida State. They all happen to go to Florida State. They all happen to graduate.
There's no one outside of Florida State fans who actually think Florida State is a part of this hype right now. They got to see it in order to believe it. And I think it's a fair thing to say.
You saw how they finished the season. They have to go to the Swamp to take on Florida. Let's talk about another SEC.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, let me just tell you something.
Sound off, dude.
Do these guys not like watch the actual sport where you have to look at returning talent? Florida State may have the most returning talent of anyone. They had one guy drafted, and it was in the 5th round.
Right.
Everybody's coming back. They had a first-round pick, potential comeback. They've got one of the top 3 quarterbacks returning, and the first 2 are no doubt first-round picks. I don't think Jordan Travis is that, but you've got one of the best college quarterbacks returning. You've got a weak ACC. I would say
really weak ACC.
Yeah, really weak ACC. And by the way, there's no more divisions anymore. So even if Florida State loses to Clemson, they could still rematch them in the ACC championship game.
Right.
So by the way, people on their own network, like Josh Pate, that was CBS, by the way, and that was Brady Quinn on the CBS show, have said that Florida State are contenders. So I don't think Josh Pate went to Florida State.
I think Florida State's a contender, and I didn't go to Florida State.
Yeah, I don't know what Brady Quinn is talking about. I think he's still mad because he got beat 37-0 at home in South Bend to Florida State when he was in college. Do
you really think that's what it is, or are you just trying to get a dig in?
It's a little dig. Hey, Brady, if you want to come on the show, we could talk about it. We could talk about that day.
I do think that like it's in yet another sorry, this is our buddy Josh Hancher is going to come on and talk a little bit about the scheduling stuff. I do think it's like a kind of sometimes like we used to talk about just the SEC, and sometimes like I still get caught in that realm, and I'm really excited for this year to like talk about other conferences and looking like the Pac-12 and it's kind of like branching out and seeing like other traditions and stuff. I don't know how long the inherent bias I have against the Big Ten is probably going to stick around, but this is a guy that's like his whole job is they cover Big Ten football and Big 12 football. They don't talk about the ACC ever. And the ACC is the worst conference in the Power 5. It's worse than the Pac-12. It is like I was looking at this weekend. Even the teams that have made the college football playoff, like there was I think 2018 or 2019 when the teams that Clemson played by the end of the year, like before the playoff, they didn't play a single ranked team. And they continuously have like the lowest amount of like ranked opponents. It's a very bad league. Florida State's good. Florida State beat LSU last year, and you know damn well LSU is getting blown up everywhere. Mike Bratton, my old coworker, was on Feinbaum last week talking about how LSU is going to win the national championship.
How about Kirk Herbstreit saying LSU is ahead of UGA right now?
Well, he mentioned another team too, dickhead. But yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, which is crazy. And he also said the same exact thing last year. He's like, when they got a chip on their shoulder and blah, blah, blah. That's just what we need right now is somebody. But like, sometimes I feel like John McClane's wife, like in Die Hard, where it's just like, can we just give it a fucking break though? And just maybe this Christmas, we don't travel anywhere and like take a break from terrorism. And then somebody's like, no, I'm taking over the Panda Express at the mall. We got to make Die Hard 4. Like, stop gassing up Georgia. This is not a good example. You know what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Yeah, look, and some people have said it here in the chat. Progress is rarely linear. Look at 2017 UGA. It took them 4 years to return to the playoffs. I get all that. I'm not saying they're going to win the national championship, but they've returned all of their best players, and they went out and they landed huge difference makers in the portal. Huge.
I mean, people forget about the Jaheim Bell.
Jaheim Bell, Keon Coleman, two outstanding offensive pieces.
Yeah.
To add to Johnny Wilson, who's a 6'7" freak. Trey Benson, who's an incredible 1,000-yard back last year.
Right.
The offense is going to be really good. I do have questions about the defense, which is why I don't think they'll win a championship, but I think they're absolutely a contender. So
yeah. Well, and I also think too that like the thing with FSU, it's different than it used to be, which is I used to tune in to FSU games all the time just to cheer against them. I mean, it is like that was like appointment viewing for me. I hated FSU. FSU played their first game of the season last year against LSU on national television, and then it kind of just I don't remember watching that many games. You saw the Florida game. If you haven't watched Jordan Travis, do yourself a favor and like go watch like just like a sped up version. I don't even saying highlights. Watch a sped up version of the Florida game last year. He's incredible. He's incredible. And they like the whole point here though, they have to go to the swamp. When is the last time the swamp?
Right.
I mean, it's been not that.
Like it's not like a super easy place to play, but like let's not act like Florida is destined to be. I mean, they've Graham Mertz as their quarterback as of right now.
If Florida was going to be a 9-win team this year, even an 8-win team this year, then sure. And it's like a rivalry game. I just don't think they have the juice for that. And I think I just think that Norvell's done a really good job of building that program. He's done it the right way, and it was a lot of obstacles he had to overcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a bad pick though.
Okay, so in the chat here we got FSU is on the right track, but having an 8 or 9 win season wouldn't be a failure. I disagree with that. I think it would be because let's look at the schedule. Just like any ACC schedule, they've got LSU, who I guess this has number 7, and then they've got at Clemson. It's a 2-game schedule. Look at everybody else: Southern Miss, at BC, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Duke, who is granted a
9-win season last year.
Yeah, but like you should beat them at home. At Wake Forest has traditionally been a terror for Florida State for some reason. They can't beat Wake recently. Hopefully that'll change.
They lost Sam Hartman, who's the all-time career touchdown leader.
You should win that game, especially if you're the team that you think you are. At Pitt, Pitt's always a solid team, but again, if you're a contender, you should win that game. Miami got crushed last year at Florida, so I think if they lose or if they win 8 games, I'd be very disappointed. That's September. Look, if Florida State goes 4-0 in September, they will be the most talked about team on television. They will have beaten LSU and gone to Clemson and won. No other team in the country at that point will have had those 2 types of wins. So it's going to be a fun year. Hopefully they don't lose both.
Georgia gets who they get.
Georgia's schedule is awful.
They get UT Martin, and then I think they have UT Darton, which is different.
D4.
Yeah, D4. D's nuts 4. They're like, no, I don't think it's a bad take. I really don't. I think that, I mean, it's good to see you all fired up and pissed off about something and somebody disrespecting your school.
Yeah.
I do think there's a lot of, I did so many deep dives this weekend, and there's so many interesting things that I think, like, I'm just getting excited for the season because we're less than 100 days. And there's so many things I think that are going to factor into this year because it's so hard to keep up with. I don't know anything about Rayola transferring to Buford.
Herman Brown, that was my favorite game ever, and I think that includes any championship game.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
When Clemson broke the noise record.
For whatever reason, I saw this on TikTok earlier, and then of course I saw it from Unnecessary Roughness, posted it later. Like any of them, I just had a hard time believing that squad was super fired up for the 2012 national championship game. But they were showing that entrance in the stadium from Bama against Notre Dame, where like I was so fucking amped, and they were like, they're just twice the size of every player, and then Blake Sims just coming by doing the suck it sign to all of them. He's the last one in the locker room. But that and the Florida State thing were the best. I do think that, like, going into this year, there's so many contributing factors of scheduling and stuff that the ACC, like you said, is like weak. But there's a lot of things to like about Florida State. They could lose. Think about this. They lose to LSU in a close game like the game last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then they beat Clemson on the road, and Clemson does what they do, and they win 10 games. They're still ranked.
They'll play again in the ACC championship game.
And they beat him again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're telling me one loss to LSU. So let's say LSU ends up having a good season, 10-win season, something like that. Yeah, dude. I mean, of course they're going to be in.
We'll have to see what happens in the rest of the country. I do worry about the Big Ten getting 2 teams in again because Penn State's going to be good. And anyway, but so let's talk about this. Let's talk about is that cool in the next segment? What do we have?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so this is the thing I was like most fired up about this weekend, and it is talking about expansion and talking about what happened with the scheduling issue at SEC spring meetings. I saw all the reactions and stuff like that, and I'm obviously going to be defensive. I had this thought in the back of my mind, and then Josh Pate said it last night. We need to get Josh Pate back on, but he said it last night, and I was like, yes, I'm not crazy. I think this is a good idea. All of the stuff about, and we're going to bring a dog stats on here in a second as well, Josh Hancher. Him and I were arguing about this. We were arguing about this all weekend because the whole idea of moving to 9 games, it absolutely makes sense. Like from a logistical standpoint and playing the 9 and blah, blah, blah. Just hear me out here for a second. And this is not because Bama's playing 8. There are 9 teams in this conference that voted against playing an 8 or 9 game schedule. There was one that it got pinned on about being scared and about blah, blah, blah. So I did what I always do.
That comes with the territory.
Huh?
That comes with the territory, though.
But like, what was amazing was watching Tennessee fans talk shit on social media about how Bama being scared to set up this 9 game schedule, and then like it took like a day to realize it's like, hold up, y'all were in the same fucking boat. Y'all did the same thing. So like what I'm saying is like the 8 game schedule versus 9 game schedule, it makes sense 1,000%. But here's the thing, and I don't know if I should bring Josh on now or after I'm done with my rant, because we just keep disagreeing on this as much as I love the guy. But like the whole thing, everyone assumes, well, just play the schedule, and if you win 10 games, like there's going to be so many SEC teams that get in. Do we know that? All of this is an assumption, right? Unless you're Georgia, I don't want to hear anything about what you should be scared of or who you should play and blah, 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 because Georgia's the best team in the country right now, and they could play the fucking Cowboys if they wanted to, and they'd probably still beat them by 30. So like, but every other team has a very real concern coming in when you add teams like Texas and Oklahoma. And here's why. The reason why all this happened in the past, and like, because I know that everyone thinks this is like it should have just been automatic. Why would they not immediately go to this? The reason behind it is we're talking about in 2024, where several teams, Georgia and Bama mainly, have taken it upon themselves before that Texas and Oklahoma were added to go out and start scheduling all these non-con games. They just started grabbing up all these different non-con games against Power 5 opponents. We talk about Florida State. Wisconsin and Florida State were announced in 2019 that Alabama was going to play them in the year 2025. In the next 10 years after 2025, starting in 2025, Alabama has scheduled, and Georgia did the same thing, 2 Power 5 opponents minimum every single year in 9 of the next 10 years. Now, that's awesome. Like, that's fun. You play Oklahoma, you play, they're not in the SEC, but you play Ohio State, Notre Dame, West Virginia. Those are fun matchups. Like, those are really fun matchups. They did this before they announced Texas and Oklahoma were coming in. You have to go to a 9-game schedule. I want to show you. How do I bring up a picture?
Click on present. Got
Slides?
it? No.
I hate this.
Share screen.
No.
It'll give you an option of what you want to share.
Okay, well, I don't want to share any of it. Oh boy. Well,
you don't want to show the
have
picture
it open yet. I just was gonna plug it into the thing.
No, just have it open as a
Hold
thing.
on, go to Twitter real quick. I'll send you the link. I don't know how to, I thought you could just add, why can't you just add a photo and let it do that? Here, I can do this. Hold on. Anyway, let's bring in Josh. Josh is watching around with all this stuff. What's up, dude?
Hey, dude.
All right, don't say a word out of your stupid mouth about you being wrong in your opinions yet. Okay, here it is. So this would be, for instance,
good. Can't see any of us now.
This would be an example of the schedule that would take place in a 9-game conference schedule. And I just threw out the year 2028 when Alabama plays Ohio State and Oklahoma State. Now, again, the reason this is an issue, when you look at future scheduling, it's real easy to think like, yeah, maybe they'll just throw these away and they can just cancel these down the road. But there's only 4 teams in the conference this is going to affect. Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina are the only other teams in the SEC that have consistently scheduled 2 Power 5 opponents in each year for the next 5 years, starting in 2025. Now, what do those teams have in common? 3 of the 4 have a built-in rivalry against an in-state Power 5 opponent. So it makes sense. This is more exciting. Like I playing Oklahoma State, playing Ohio State, and then playing this gauntlet. I don't want to do that. I'll say it. Like if that's a scared thing, I'm kind of fine with it. Like that doesn't seem fun to me. And I've always said this too. I don't give a shit if like Bama plays Mercer twice because I want to win. I want to win every year. That's just how I feel.
And
but going
to
games
for you, Huck.
What's that?
I said we're some garnet for you tonight.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that.
But going 9 games and playing just a conference schedule, there's a massive difference from conference to conference of how that's going to impact people. And in the SEC, we have enough arrogant fans, as much as I love them, that think, well, as long as you have this many wins, the SEC is going to get so many teams in. So many teams. I got news for you guys, man. Like the Big Ten, they have a lot of good national brands. And as Josh is about to tell you, that conference schedule is dominated by very select few teams. So getting a new 9-game schedule on top of that, that's a fucking nightmare. But even if it's not the 9-game schedule and you just played 1 Power 5 team and whatever else, wouldn't it not be better for college football as a sport to have an 8-game conference schedule and then schedule 2 Power 5 non-conference games like that, where you have Georgia going to Ohio State, you have Bama going to Notre Dame, you have Florida State going to like UCLA, all over the country, and then you have like
as long as you're doing home and homes, it's all. That's my only bitch is I'm so glad Florida State's going to Tuscaloosa and to Athens and vice versa. Like the LSU in New Orleans and Orlando is so stupid to me.
Right,
Yeah,
but we're on the tail end of that, which is like the thing for a long time.
Right.
Play college games on college campuses. That's
right.
Absolutely.
And first off, my thing about disappointment in the SEC not going. By the way, Harry, what's up? Thank you for the shout out. I can't chat because I don't have an account. So next time if I do this again, I'll log in and get an account so I can jump in the chat. But my biggest complaint about the SEC staying at 8 is honestly strictly as a Georgia fan and strictly because between the cocktail party and can be terrible home schedule for this year. I mean, like everyone's poking holes and making fun of Georgia's schedule, but obviously those that want to actually understand what's going on, Oklahoma was on the schedule this year, and
Right.
the SEC made him cancel it. So,
Y'all
yes,
aren't upset about it. Like I'm allowed to talk shit about it.
yeah, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, Georgia needs another like home game, or I mean, like, a subject for another day would be to bring the cocktail party to home and home. But
Right.
that's a story for another day. But no, I mean, exactly. I mean, like the stat I dug around, and Marler and I have been going back and forth, just digging through these numbers, and sat around all weekend and scraping data off different sites for 10 years. But the Ohio State has a 93% in conference winning percentage over the last decade. So
82-7.
Yeah, 93%. Now, as good as Alabama has been, I mean, Alabama is clearly the gold standard. They're only at 89%, which is still
Right.
ridiculous, but they're winning national championship. So so everyone's saying like Ohio State's playing, or the Big Ten's playing 9 games, but what's that 9th game get you? It doesn't get you like Penn State and Wisconsin. It gets you Indiana, Illinois, or Purdue. I mean, Purdue can be good, and and Indiana's had a blip in the last 10 years, but it doesn't guarantee. Just adding a 9th game doesn't guarantee that game is more valuable than, like you're saying, scheduling even a neutral site. They're going to still be there. Huck, I know that I'm right there with you. I'd love to see all college games played on college campuses, except for the championship game. But yeah, exactly. It doesn't guarantee you a better schedule. You can, and I've been throwing out stats all day long about. Yeah, sure, the SEC is playing 8 games, but the bottom half of the SEC is dominating the entire Big Ten in bowl games, and Georgia has the most out-of-conference wins against ranked opponents since 2013. So it's like it's just Twitter, so it's not a big deal, but it's like, just saying,
though.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fine. The SEC stayed at 8; they're going to take some heat, but it doesn't mean that they're not hiding from anybody. I mean, and the one concession that I would make to Chris, and I think some other people maybe Graham has made it, is like, yeah, it's like some of these teams that voted against it are just trying to get some bowl eligibility, which is fair, because for Mississippi State or South Carolina or Vanderbilt. Well, let's throw out Vanderbilt. They're not going to be on the edge of
not anymore. Especially they had 5 wins last year.
Yeah, but you throw in, and they catch an LSU or they catch a Florida when they, could have been scheduling, a UAB, which is a good program. I mean, that's nothing against UAB, but a group of 5 game would be more valuable to them. I mean, and a group of 5 versus a lower tier SEC that has juice too.
Right.
I mean,
well, here's my thing too: is with this new playoff that's coming. Like the SEC still being the toughest conference, like you could still fill in a patsy game with another top tier team and lose that game and still make the playoff because you're still the strong conference. Even if you have a 2-loss Georgia or a 2-loss Alabama, they're going to get over a 1-loss, Big 12 team.
Mm-hmm. I just all that's an assumption though. And here's the other thing too about the meetings that everyone failed to understand is like what I originally was trying to do was argue until I was blue in the face for sure. But also like the fact that like most of the reasons behind why there would be any dragging of the feet, there's some teams that with like the bowl games, Greg Byrne, Alabama's AD, flat out said, if you're going into 2024, like there's a select few teams, obviously in the conference, where the goal is to win the national championship or play for the national championship every year. And Alabama's in that boat. If you don't have all the criteria ironed out for what each resume is going to be like what they're going to be looking at on each resume, which they don't have, and they've said they don't have for the college football playoff, why the fuck would you go into scheduling harder opponents and being like, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. Oh, we're sorry. You wanted it. Like Jerry in Tennessee, you wanted it to go to 9 games. So let's do that. So because like it's great for the fans. It's great for the fans. And I think I can clearly see if I'm like, like being objective, like what each fan base, where they're coming from with like the complaints or what they're saying. Georgia, for one, not scared of anybody, will play anybody. They played 7 ranked teams last year and they beat the dog shit out of them by 46 points a game. Also, those fans are really tired of not having any good home games. So, of course, they want to see like 9 conference games because they're not scared of any of that.
If I add a little context to that, no good home games, the fact that the Tennessee versus Georgia game was, I think people said, and with a good argument, that might have been the biggest game that Sanford has ever seen. That's sad. I mean, because and it's because you're taking, number one, we've diluted the schedule with adding teams, and number two, Florida, which has been a dominant team for the last, a good team in the last 20 years, never came to Athens. Sorry,
Right.
Huck, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, so
No,
I think
Florida's actually failed to leave the state of Florida to play an out-of-conference game since like 1991. So
the first time they have left the state in the opening weekend will be this year when they go to Utah. And also, I don't know who made their schedule. You have to give them credit and tip of the cap because they've gone out of their way to schedule some teams. I don't know why. Billy Napier that is going to be tough because they are whoever did that was out of his mind. But so the main point I'm trying to say is like you have people that want to see these games because it is better. It's more fun. Like I get that. There's bigger games. But what's going to happen, in my opinion, is if you're dragging your feet on why do we don't know the criteria to get into the national championship, then I'm not trying to schedule a more difficult. I'm not trying to schedule a more difficult schedule for myself. For one, if we don't know what it's going to take to get in there yet, if you're guaranteeing a 9-win season like Notre Dame got to have, Notre Dame had a guaranteed bid into a BCS every single year as long as they got to 10 wins. No one else has a benchmark like that in college football at all. But if you're in the Big Ten, of course you want the SEC to play more games. And the reason why, there's twofold. And I'm getting on the soapbox, and Josh and I are going to do a separate video about this later this week and kind of get into all of the nitty gritty with the numbers. But there's two arguments that the Big Ten consistently makes and people make against the SEC, and it's they don't play. It's top heavy, right? And then the other part is in week 13 they play the cupcake schedule, right? So I went and looked at the best team in the Big Ten, obviously, which is Ohio State, and you look at how many ranked teams they've had against, playing in their conference games. Ohio State has played 89 games against Big Ten opponents in the regular season and or Big 12 or Big Ten championship game in the last decade. Only 28% of those games have been against ranked opponents. Now you look at Georgia, on the other hand, in their conference games, they're playing 43% of their opponents in the SEC are ranked. When's the last time you ever watched an SEC championship game and one of the teams wasn't ranked? Because Michigan got to do that last year. And I've heard nonstop how it's well, you get to rest. We're going in.
Northwestern was in it the COVID year, right?
Yeah, and they were ranked.
Yeah.
But and here's the other thing too. You talk about being top heavy or the parity and stuff like that in each team or each conference. Ohio State, who again 82-7, best of any team in their conference in the entire country. They're playing teams that they have the most teams in the country out of any conference that's under 40% winning percentage in the entire country over the last 10 years. Most teams in the Big Ten, they are very bad at the bottom. They're not that great in the middle. And Ohio State, 26 games against ranked opponents, 22 of them are the same four teams. It's not like you're going to Oxford.
Michigan, Wisconsin,
right? There's
Penn State.
multiple times. Yeah, it's exactly it. Michigan, Wisconsin, Penn State, and Michigan State.
Michigan State, yeah.
And there's multiple years where you see the whole thing about the Week 13 thing. 16 of Ohio State's 20 games in the regular season against ranked opponents came in the month of November. So when you look up, it's oh man, how come Bama's playing Mercer and we have to play so and so? I don't know. What the fuck were you doing the first 2 months of the season? There's multiple teams that have gone through. Michigan did it 2 years ago where they didn't play a single ranked opponent until week 13. Imagine getting to play no ranked teams the first 2 months of the season, and then as you're hitting stride as a team, then you get to play ranked opponents. That's all I'll say.
Well, I mean, Michigan has played 0 FCS teams since 2013. That's commendable, but they're not scheduling juggernauts. You know what I mean? They played Colorado State, Hawaii, last year. I mean, it's just they're not playing. I mean, they've played Florida in a neutral over that time period. I think they went 1-1. They played Notre Dame. I think they're 0-2 versus Notre Dame. So I mean, sure, they're scheduling.
I don't remember them playing Florida. When was that?
It was in 2017.
Yeah, 2016, 2015, somewhere in that range. Yeah, and yeah, exactly. I mean, dude,
they both kind of sucked at that time, probably.
Yeah, it was a big game because it was national brands in a neutral site in an early game.
Oh, that's right. That was the opening weekend that Florida State Bama was. I remember watching that tailgating. Yeah. Okay.
So it's but you got to win those games, and it's I'll go back to it. That I was stunned. I mean, granted, it's front heavy or front loaded, if you will. But yeah, Georgia has more wins against out of conference ranked opponents over this period than Alabama's 4-0, Georgia's 6-2. So it's like, I don't know. I just don't know what anybody wants to take shots at the SEC. It's just like, you're crazy. And Florida State's right there again has got 5 wins they're 5-6, but also they benefit from the fact that Florida and Florida State have been good ranked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Georgia Tech, actually, one of those losses was a Georgia Tech ranked team. That
2013.
That's right.
Yeah, and you're not everyone takes shots at Georgia because Georgia Tech, but that team has won a championship. Not in the. I mean, yes, it's kind of ancient, but they played in the ACC championship. That team is not guaranteed to be a doormat forever. So,
well, I don't. I mean, but it's commendable. You're right either way. The other thing is this, like, we were saying this last night, and I was like I got into it like a rabbit hole, and I convinced myself, I was like, oh my God, I think Bama's a fraud. Like some of the numbers that I had somehow crunched, upon crunch. But like Ohio State, as much as we give like the Big Ten, like we don't give them a lot of credit. Like the Ohio State's done arguably a better job of scheduling non-conference opponents and playing difficult teams than anyone in the country. And like I will give the Big Ten its roses right now and say that, like, or flowers, or whatever that phrase is. Like when you look at top to bottom, the amount of FCS opponents, right? The SEC has played the most. They've played almost double the amount that the Big Ten has. The Big Ten's only played 66, right? Like there's only 5 teams in the entire country who have played 2 or less FCS opponents over the last 10 years. And 3 of them are in the Big Ten, Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State, and 2 of them are about to be, USC and UCLA. And that is commendable. But when you look at all the other teams, like when I say this as a joke a lot, but now looking at the numbers, if I'm getting to go trade out a September of Texas on the road or Clemson at Charlotte or like Tennessee Open with like West Virginia a couple years ago or whatever, and then in October of playing like 3 top 20 teams in a row, because I get to wait till November to play fucking Michigan State at home. Like that we talk about a 2-game season. Most of those are a 2-game season.
Hey, don't knock the Spartans. Don't knock the Spartans.
Michigan over this time, I keep going 2013 because that's 10 years. Michigan over that time is 4-7 versus ranked out of conference opponents, including postseason. They have as many wins as Northwestern over ranked opponents over that time period. I mean, and Auburn and Iowa's 3-4, and overall, they're just, the Big Ten is mid after. I mean, everyone talks about the SEC being top heavy. I mean, it's Ohio State and nobody else. I mean, it's so abundant looking at these that Ohio State probably is the only one that can take shots, but they're not backing it up. I mean, their Ohio State is, where that stat goes, they're 3-2 in conference versus out of conference regular season, and then if you include bowl season, they are 10-7. They're 58, 59%, win percentage. So I mean, they're not, they're beatable, and that is proven over the last 6 years. They just can't get over the hump.
They've played like and again, like Ohio State is a team that like deserves credit on this, but like I guess just like in summation with all this, and I hope y'all tune in. We have to figure out when we're going to set it up, and I got to make a bunch more graphics because it really was like a fascinating deep dive to look at all this stuff, because the Big Ten and the SEC, I know they're going to combat and go head to head all the time. And I think as of now, it's easy to say the SEC is the better team. I know the Big Ten are a better conference. The Big Ten is doing a lot of good things to like create more parity. And I think Wisconsin being back is going to be great. But the West is a joke. It's been awful. Even worse than the SEC East, I think. But like when you talk about going into the next like several years, and Michigan is going to leave the state in the month of September for the first time in 3 or 4 years, and it's the last day of the year to go play at 4-8 Nebraska from last year. Like I hate that. And here's the last thing. No one fucking asked you to go play 9 games. The entire idea that it's like some like macho alpha, what the fuck, hardo shit. If you play 9 games, Peter Burns brought up the other day, there's been 0 national champions that have come from a 9-team conference was a 9-game conference schedule. Ohio State played 8 that year. In 2014, Ohio State played 8.
I know, but it's still like his tweet to me, I interpreted it as that you're a detriment to making the playoff when a 9-game conference champion has been in there every year. Half the years a 9-game conference has played in the national championship game, and that goes with about 50% of the conferences. So it's I think I found that stat a little misleading.
That's fair. That's a good point. But
so,
the main point of it, and I said this in my video that was making fun of some of this situation on Friday, or like on our social media, no one fucking asked you to play 9 games. Okay, so like if you are a fan of another conference and you're listening right now, or you're a AD or whatever, if you're worried about playing 8 or you can play about it, go play 8. Go play 7. We don't fucking care. Play whatever.
Chris, they gotta have those games because who
Right.
is Rutgers, Indiana, Illinois going to schedule that anybody's going to watch? Right? No one's going to. I mean, if they don't get an extra Big Ten team to come to their house and go go on the road, they're trash. I mean, unless everybody goes 8 and we start really, I mean, even then, if you go get Vanderbilt versus Illinois, no one's going to watch that. They need those games, and that's what it is.
Like you got to start making it worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean,
like Brett Bielema shirtless on, I would watch that.
And that's precisely why one of the reasons they didn't go to 9 was for the money. And SEC realizes an SEC conference game is worth money, right? And that's at the end of the day, that's what it is. They wanted more money from their SEC deal for that 9th game. So, I mean, I don't know if that's the case. Then I don't expect teams to start scheduling big if Clemson South Carolina they're only out of a conference game Power 5 team over this decade has been Clemson. Same with Kentucky. It's only been Louisville. I'm sorry, that was true road games. True road.
We'll get into there's like a ton of numbers we'll bring up, and we like Josh and I had like I think I had the best time looking all up. We'll schedule a time to do all that. We're gonna get, I guess Dan's gonna get pissed because we're over an hour.
Right.
But it's fascinating stuff, and I think it's stuff that's like not just off season like fodder. I think it's stuff that's like could impact the future of the game because I like college football, and one of the things I've always said about it is the season is precious, and I use that exact word because growing up, if you lost a game, you were done. Like you had a very difficult chance, and maybe that's not what everyone wants, but I also don't think everybody wants a 24 team conferences where somebody's going to go pull like a 2007 New York Giants and like a 9-7 team is going to somehow run the table. We're not going to see a Cinderella story like that in college football. It's just not going to happen. Josh, tell everyone what they can find you.
Yeah, I'm on the Twitter a bunch at DogStats. I love looking at stats and throwing up numbers. If you got something you want me to research for you, I've done all this stuff. So be happy to do it. Jump in the comments with me and Marler or whatever. And I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been fun. And to kill some summer off time that I've got with you guys.
Appreciate it.
Keep finding the good fight. Keep finding the good fight. College football games on college football campuses.
I mean, God, a playoff game on campus. Dude, I can go on and on about this if you guys are having back. I want to do a home and home versus cocktail party thing at some point. I want to hear what your listeners have to say.
I would definitely. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right, thanks, you guys. I'll let you guys wrap it up.
See you, dude.
Thanks.
So yesterday I'm talking to he's great. Yesterday we're talking to him about these numbers. You know how I get. I was like so excited, so I'm going through all this different stuff, and like I've got like my notebook out, and I'm like writing stuff in it. And
like you watched it?
Huh?
The Notebook? Never mind.
I watched it twice in theaters. So as like I'm like telling him like, what if we did this? And he's like, I'm like, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking like, I have to go look up this on this site, this, and I'll write it all down like I always do in pencil because I'm an idiot. And like 3 minutes later, he comes back with like a full list, like just he pulled everything. And I was like, what is this? Apparently all the sites we've both been using, you can just do that. You don't have to just write down all the data like an idiot. You can just put it into like an Excel sheet, and he created all this like very quickly. So learned a lot this weekend.
All right. Well, that was a great segment. We've got a couple more that we got to hit. Maybe we'll do them rapid fire.
Yeah, we don't have to necessarily. I mean, like, what's the next segment?
Fan speak.
We can wait.
All right. Why don't we do some?
I think it'd be fun. Send us your tweets of your favorite responses to people from what you see on social media about college football all week, and or like coaches and players, what they said, because I just think it'd be fun to finally switch up from the coach speak to the fan speak.
All right. Well, then last thing we'll talk about here, just real quickly, thoughts on the announcement of the Florida Netflix documentary.
Oh yeah,
that's gonna be awesome.
I'm
like what angle do you think they're gonna take? Like, do you think they're gonna kind of largely be like, this was a team full of just massive pieces of shit? Yeah, they had success, but really they were just pieces of shit.
It's gonna make like,
except for Tebow, who was like,
yeah,
Jesus-like figure.
I get like, ever since the Bama Rush doc came out, which was dog shit.
Yeah, everybody was disappointed by that.
So disappointed, and it was like, and it was weird because the director really made it about herself and her hair, and I'm with you, girl. I mean, so I shaved mine too. So I was like, but like, I worry that because the documentaries are really hard to make. It's crazy that we have so many of them. I hope they don't focus only on Aaron Hernandez, because there was multiple felons on that team.
Yeah,
not murderers, but felons. The Riley Cooper stuff happened after college, but he seems to be pretty prominent in their promotions with it. Also, where I used to live,
the Pouncey twins.
Pouncey twins were awful. Like, I mean, there was
Chris Rainey, Time to Die Bitch, which you forgot about, but that happened.
Like, I remember, like, before Tebow even got there, in his first 4 years, they were saying how they had 26 arrests, which was by far the most in the SEC, and that one player was using a stolen gas card, and it was from his a dead person, which is like solid move. I mean, like, with gas this economy, no, like, but like, there's so many different things you could bring up, and like, Urban Meyer is possibly, since Aaron Hernandez is dead, Urban Meyer is possibly now, from his own doing, the least likable person of the entire thing.
Right.
I just hope they like get into I hope it's 17 hours of every detail imaginable, and fans are going to be pissed.
It's going to be great. I like, there were other stories that we're forgetting about too. I think didn't some guy like sneak into a tow place and like steal his car back or something like that?
Operation Repo on True TV.
I will have to look that up. Was that guy's name Tony Joyner?
Well, I do think that, like, oh, that does sound familiar. What's kind of crazy about it is that, like, Saban ended Urban Meyer's like run early, and then he left. But that 4 years with Tebow, and even before that, like, they were so good, and they were so dominant, and like they they really were.
Dude, Tony Joyner murdered somebody.
Huh?
Tony Joyner murdered somebody. He is in jail for 25 years for murdering someone. Add another one to the list. He was on the 2016.
He killed
the mother of his children.
That's
I mean, I'm not even laughing about that. This just happened.
You're laughing about it. I'm watching you laugh about it right now.
May 8th, 2023.
It hit. That was this year?
Well, he murdered her in 2016, but he just got convicted.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second. And Herman Brown, it comes out in August. That's the other best part that I like about this. It comes out in August, which is like right leading up to the season, so it's gonna be fucking awesome. Like, we're gonna be so hyped. But why, if you murder somebody in 2016, why does it take 7 years for you to go away?
Dude, this is crazy. Tony Joyner, I probably haven't thought of his name in literally since 2006. This happened today. Breaking news, June 5th. Former University of Florida football player Tony Joyner was sentenced to 25 years in prison for the murder of a Fort Myers mother in 2016. That happened today.
Do you think
that's kind of crazy, right?
Kind of like planned, part of like the release of like the doc, like just sort of.
Oh yeah, nice promo. All right, well, I'm disappointed we're not doing our fake bowl names. This is the end of the pod here.
I forgot about fake bowl names. Well, we had so much time. We can do fake bowl names. I'm in.
Well, I just wanted to mention the Krispy Kreme Donut Bowl, and you just the two fattest coaches. No matter the record, those are the two teams that play each other. So even if like Mark Mangino's back and he's coaching Notre Dame and they're undefeated, they don't get to play in the
Yeah.
championship game. They have to play in the Krispy Kreme Donut Bowl against Brett Bielema in Illinois.
Okay.
Or whoever has to be the fattest that year. Some people lose
Yeah.
weight. You get up. It's like, you go up in class, like it's soccer. It's like, so
Ooh.
I like that.
The whole purpose of this we were going to do, because it was sadly we announced that, I don't want to get political, but like in Biden's economy, we have now lost 50% of the Cheez-It Bowls in the postseason for college football.
All right,
They lost one of the Cheez-It Bowls. They still have another one. It's unconfirmed which one that one is. I think it's just the Cheez-It Bowl, not the.
I'm gonna miss Prince Chedward. I'll say that much.
That's pretty good. That's actually really good. Prince Chedward?
You haven't seen Prince Chedward?
No.
All right.
Chetty Williams. Now I'm just gonna do cheese puns all night. No, because like they replaced it with the Pop-Tart Bowl, which is I think awesome because you know what they should do with the Pop-Tart Bowl, instead of coming out for like pregame and stretching and like any sort of that shit, they should theme it around. That's fucking terrifying. They should theme the Pop-Tart Bowl around exactly like the kids that consume their product, and like every single player has to wake up like 5 minutes before homeroom or kickoff and just sprint out the door of their single parent home, grab a chocolate frosted or a strawberry frosted Pop-Tart, and then go play. Pop quiz. Like that's every person that had Pop-Tarts ever. Just Pop-Tarts are so good.
They are. All right, boys. That's the end of the show. And girls, as always, we really appreciate you all listening to the show. It would really help us and the growth of the show if you would rate us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify.
Yeah.
Leave a review. We will read the best reviews on air every week. This will be segmented out now. And like and subscribe to our YouTube page. Don't forget to check out the SDS podcast weekly with Connor O'Gara. And again, congrats to him on being a new father. Check out all our videos and clips from this show. What are the socials, Chris?
On social media at Sat Down South on Twitter, also on our TikTok, on our Facebook, or not really our Facebook, our YouTube channel still, and then also Instagram as well. So had some really fun stuff coming up for that.
Yes. So for Chris, I'm Tyler. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.